Hi, everybody.
Hi, yes, this is Barry and Laurie again with Nothing Hidden Ministries. And we want to talk to you today about an ounce of prevention. I don't know how many of you are familiar with that phrase. And what the rest of it is actually an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And
Do you know who said that?
I do. It was written by Benjamin Franklin many years ago, right when our country was being established. And anyway, so we're actually going to talk to you about some lessons that we're being reminded of as we have a carpenter doing some work on our house.
And our house is falling apart.
Not quite, but there's some things that need to be repaired before we have it painted, because it needs to be painted badly, and there's just some wood stuff that has been
deteriorating.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's more than we thought.
Right. And what we're learning from this is, some prevention could have stopped this deterioration, this rotting and molding, and it's the same in our relationships. It really is the same, and we'll talk about that. So today he's out working, taking off some trim around some of the windows, and they looked fine beforehand. They were painted.
You wouldn't have known they were really bad.
Right. They were painted white, and if you look closely, you could tell a little bit. Then you start pushing on it, and you realize, oh man, this wood isn't very hard wood.
Yeah.
And you dig in a little bit, and it was rotted from behind. You wouldn't know that unless you did a little bit of digging. That's another principle that we often have to do in a relationship in order to find what's really going on in there. We'll talk some more about this. But so the problem couldn't be seen unless you or detected unless you did some digging. Kind of like what the dentist does when he starts digging at those places in your teeth and goes, oops, there's a cavity, and you hate to hear that word. But he digs around to find it. And anyway, that could have been prevented. That rot, that mold could have been prevented. And actually what happened is there was rot on the back of the trim, the wood trim, but then it started to rot the wood behind that. And if it had kept going, it could have actually gotten into the structure of the house and really done a lot of damage. And so right now we're having to kind of pay for the pound of cure because the ounce of prevention wasn't done originally, just by putting caulking around outside that trim to keep water from getting in there, which did the rot.
And you can see where we're going with this, that there are things that we need to be doing in our marriage daily, all the time, that are going to keep us in a place where we don't all of a sudden look and go, oh my gosh, this is a mess.
That's right.
It looked great on the outside. We thought it was going okay. Actually, we didn't think it was going okay, but we were just going along our merry way. We weren't digging. We weren't
Exactly.
connecting. We weren't listening.
Yeah.
We weren't
Yeah.
working through conflict.
And a lot of us don't know how to actually do the prevention. A lot of people think the way to have a good relationship is just to be friendly and happy and smile and keep going and try to go past all of the issues and problems that come up and just hope they'll go away and hope things will get better. But it usually doesn't happen that way. Usually the things that are not dealt with end up doing more damage in the long run.
We were meeting with a couple yesterday, and we were just telling them a little bit about love after marriage, and the husband was really cute. He was being funny, but he says, he goes, I don't think that would be good for us to go to. Like, I don't know if we're supposed to, he was kind of laughing because he knew what it was about. But he was basically saying, I don't want to ruffle the waters, like we're at a good place, and what if we find something, and I think that's how we live in our relationships. Yeah. It's kind of like, let's not go digging around. We figured out a way to survive and to make this work. And you know what? God wants so much more. So there is a way to be able to dig and have it be good, and to even be intentional about prevention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So a lot of people live, and I'm sorry, I don't know if any of you are on making comments. We can't see any comments on the screen here, so if you're making them, I apologize. We can't see any. But a lot of people live that way and thinking, if I stir the waters, it'll get worse, and we won't be able to fix it. It'll just make it worse. And you do need some tools to know how to make things better. But if you just live only on the outside, the surface, then you can have things going on that really can't be repaired also, because you don't even recognize them. So anyway, here's a few tips, 5 tips of what we want to give you today as ways that can give you that ounce of prevention, a way to deal with things as they come up and keep growing, keep getting deeper and getting rid of stuff that wants to come in and do damage to your relationship, whether you're married or single, married and have a spouse, or just single relationships, and even other relationships and friendships beyond the marriage.
And none of these are new if you've been to Lamb or Single
True.
Life.
Yeah.
But we find most of the time that when we ask people if they're doing the tools or they're working on prevention, a lot of people just forget about it.
Yeah.
Out of sight, out of mind. So this is a little reminder
Yeah.
that could actually take you from point A to point B in your marriage where you need to go, if you were just reminded to let's get out the tools and let's work on some of this stuff.
So it's the maintenance part of prevention. You maintain things so that things don't go bad. So the first one is, and this is known to anybody that's been through one of our workshops: live openly and honestly in a loving way with each other. And that's easier said than done, but it's so important. It's a godly way of relating, a godly way of connecting. And so, in your marriage, your relationship, your friendship, if your friend says or your spouse says to you, wow, what's going on? You seem really upset today, or you seem really distant, or whatever, it can be a tendency to say, oh no, I'm okay, it's no big deal, and just keep that stuff, keep the stuff that feels uncomfortable, keep it under the surface, say, I'll just deal with it myself, and not invite in the people that care about you and that love you, and be able to share and bear each other's burdens. And so we need to be able to do that instead of just saying, oh, I'll handle it myself. And just saying, oh, it's okay, and minimizing it. So we talk openly and honestly and let each other in. And lo and behold, we'll find that it is so helpful to have somebody else listening, somebody else really to understand. Maybe they can't even solve the problem, but at least you're not alone with it. And maybe they would have some ideas that could really help you deal with whatever's on your mind.
Yeah.
Okay? So that's number one. Just live openly and honestly. Nothing hidden.
And number 2 is paying attention to what you feel in the relationship with a friend or a spouse. And lots of times, I know we've done this back and forth with each other, but we'll feel from the other one, Guy, it sounds like you're really upset with me, or you're frustrated, or it's feeling, when you're paying attention to what you're feeling, it's feeling like I did something wrong, and I'm in trouble. And sometimes a lot of our marriage, I would feel that, or Barry would feel that, and we wouldn't say much. We just kind of try to press on. But I can remember even the other day that it was really important for one of us to say, to bring this out and say, it really feels like you're upset with me. And I think the one example I'm thinking of, you were saying that to me, and I was just, and I remember when he said, "Are you upset at me?" And I said, "No," because I wasn't. But even the way I said it was no, but I was thinking of some things. Right. And I was frustrated, but I also was feeling really insecure about some things I was thinking about. And so all of that was coming out to him. And in my mind and my heart, I thought, no, I'm not mad at you, but it sure the heck sounded like I was mad.
And it felt like it.
And it felt like it.
So it was so important that she asked, or I asked, whoever asked, because we got it clear. And sometimes when our friend or spouse is going through something inside, it can feel like it's personal. And we may just live with that and believe they're upset when they're actually not, when they're maybe tense or nervous about something else or distracted about some other thing. So it just helped to talk about it, to be aware of what we're feeling and bring it out in the open. Now, we're not suggesting that you just live by your feelings, because it's not a good, stable way to live, by following everything you feel and acting on what you feel and letting your feelings guide your life. But your feelings can be a good way, again, to get underneath the surface and find some things that aren't easily seen on the surface, that may be painted over, and behind the scenes. It's another way of doing some of that digging and finding, oh, there's actually something going on here that it's not real obvious, but I feel something, and that's my only indicator, is that I feel something. And it can help you find the truth when you talk with somebody who will be honest with you back and let you know what's really going on, and why you're feeling what you're feeling. Because sometimes you may be feeling something that really needs to be dealt with. You go, man, you know what? The last couple of times we've had this talk, I end up feeling really bad about myself afterwards, and maybe the other person is putting some guilt or shame or something on you. And again, it's not going to be fun maybe to talk about, but maybe the only way to get through it is to bring it up and talk through it together.
And a real good way to talk about it too, if it is tense, is to use the listening exercise.
That's our next tool. So we've talked about just living with nothing hidden, and what was the last one? Oh, just talking about just being aware of what you feel, which is part of that one. And this is an actual tool that we have, the listening exercise, but just listening in general. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So listening it's not natural for me. And when you get busy, it can be not natural for either of you. And when you get tense or nervous, it can be not natural to just take the time to stop and listen. But it's a wonderful gift that we give to each other when we listen. Our youngest son, Brendan, works with us, and he actually does this very intentionally, and it helps so many times in a discussion. He just helps bring us all back to the right place, helps people understand each other. And it is so important because when we don't listen, when we don't take the time to check in and say, so what you're saying is, and I talk back to Lori about what she's saying instead of just saying my thoughts. When I do take the time to listen and make sure I'm hearing her correctly, we don't go round and around the same mountain over and over, never getting it, never getting on the same page. And sometimes, especially when we've been in a friendship or in a marriage for a while, we think we know. We don't believe we have to take the time to listen. We assume that we know. And then many times we assume incorrectly, and we never get out of that pattern. And other people can look from the outside and see what's going on and see things that you can't see yourself. And you're close in the relationship, and you're lost because you've never taken the time to listen. You just assume you know. You don't give the person the gift of taking the time to say, hey, tell me more about that. I need to understand that. I want to understand you.
And real powerful listening is just what you said. If you can say back to the person, not just the words that they said, don't repeat it back like a robot. That doesn't help. But if you can say back actually what is going on in that person, what they're feeling, what they're experiencing, even beyond the words, then it just opens the door, and you're on the same page, and you're connected.
You feel valued.
Yes.
It's really powerful. Listening exercise. This is in our tool booklet and in our app, Nothing Hidden Ministries app. It's available. You can use this. You have to use these tools. Okay. Next thing, number 4, is be quick to own any way that you may be hurting, even if it's unintentionally hurting the person you're in a relationship with, or actually if you did something wrong. Be quick to reconcile. So be quick to own and be quick to reconcile. It's not enough just to own. Say, oh yeah, oh I see I did that. Oh, I'm sorry. Move on. Steps to reconciliation goes way beyond that, and it helps you understand what's going on with the other person and understand their feelings and show that you care about their feelings, and it brings you to another step of love. You want to give that example we were talking about?
Yeah, and this isn't even with just one person. This was actually with a group of people, because I was in a meeting and I had a mindset. I had a plan in my mind, and I had, you know how we talk about don't ever just live out relationships in your mind, that you have to work it out with people. I wasn't doing that, and I had already come to conclusions and felt like I knew what everybody was thinking. And so I was coming from that standpoint, and I was trying to make a point and get a conclusion when we weren't even coming to a conclusion. But fear was kind of at the foundation of this. There was, rather than getting into all the details, I was operating out of fear in my communication. And so it caused me to not really hear what some people were saying, and to just like I was really focused on holding on, like I felt like I had to hold on to what I was going to say. And it ended up, at one point, I was saying what I was thinking, and all the people in the room were just sitting there going,
where's this coming from?
We don't understand you. And I thought, how can you not understand me? It made so much sense, but it was crazy.
But the cool thing was,
and after I got out of that and saw what was going on, I think there was some spiritual stuff going on as well, because whenever there's fear, there's stuff operating that is affecting you in a bad way. So that affects our communication and can really undermine and bring destruction to a conversation. And so I really realized when they were all looking at me saying we don't understand what you're saying, I was able to see. And I think it was later I had to go home
Went
and
back,
even
came back
just
to
say,
me.
what was that, Jesus? What was going on? And as the Lord showed me, and I realized, oh my gosh, I really was dishonoring. I wasn't listening. I was just holding on to my own cause. And so I had to go back and reconcile,
Yeah.
and even just say, because I thought, I don't want to be doing that. I don't want to bring that into other people's lives. I want to be listening. I want to practice what we teach.
Yeah. And even though she didn't do any of that intentionally, just recognizing that it made it really hard for us in the conversation. It slowed the whole process down, took a lot more time, and there was a
Yes,
level of frustration
because
for all of us.
they had to keep explaining it to me.
Going through the steps to reconciliation, the 5 steps, and this again is one of our tools in our tool booklet and in our app. She did that, and all it did, or what it did, not all it did, but what it did is it let us all feel that she understood what she did, and she really cared about it. She didn't want to do that, and it just put us on a whole new track and like a new start, and we could just begin again. But if she hadn't done the reconciliation, she probably wouldn't have seen things as clearly, and we'd be wondering, when's she going to do that again? But it's a really powerful thing that can even if you have not done some of the prevention work that you need, and something got under the surface and it's working and bringing hurt and pain, reconciliation is a great way to go in there and clean up that mess and start over.
And in a marriage, it reconnects your hearts.
Yeah.
And the same thing with people who are close to you. But in that meeting, I felt like it gave the people that I was reconciling with, they had a grace for me.
Yeah.
It's like they could understand, they could see, and they appreciated me valuing them, and owning my own stuff, being able to see what I was doing.
Yeah, but I must say this too, just to kind of give you an idea of it. It was pretty powerful, because one person in the discussion said, if you keep doing this, it's going to make it really hard to continue doing these discussions with you. It was that frustrating. And so, again, just the reconciliation took care of it all. And we really could start again fresh with a lot of respect and honor. All right? Number 5, the last tip we want to give you today is, for an ounce of prevention to keep things from getting in and undermining your relationships, is don't ignore conflicts. It's a little different than the reconciliation. Reconciliation is when you've hurt, wounded each other. But conflicts come up when you have to do something together, you have to make an agreement together, and you're not on the same page. You're on different ends of the spectrum. Spectrum. There you go. and you can't quite come together. We just helped a couple the other day with this. That they love each other, and they're working through some really emotional issues. And interestingly, one of the enemies to conflict resolution is just wanting to give in and make the other person feel good. I mean, instead of really saying what you honestly think and feel, just go, it's okay. Especially when you say it's okay, or I'll do this, you can do it your way. When you don't really feel that in your heart, then you have not brought the best that you can bring to that conflict resolution. You kind of settled for an easy out, rather than going through, talking through. And then we have steps. And we tell people, when you're in conflict, follow the steps religiously. Because what it does is it'll take you out of your normal pattern of talking and communicating that got you nowhere, that didn't get you a resolution.
Your bad habits.
Yeah. And it'll just help you go through a step-by-step process that actually uses reasoning and thinking more than feeling when you have to make decisions and work through conflict. When you're doing reconciliation, the feelings are really important, and caring about the feelings, identifying the feelings. There's a time for both and a place for both in a relationship. So not ignoring conflicts and using the rules for working through conflicts in our app, Nothing Hid Ministries.
And I wanted to just say about that too, that maybe you are a person that has grown up with horrible conflict in your life, and you don't even know this, but you've made a vow. Every chance I get, I am not going to engage in conflict because it was so destructive, and so it's caused you to go the opposite and literally run or just shut down or leave the room or refuse to work through anything. And I want to just encourage you to not doing that, and get out your tool booklet, and just the next time there's a disagreement, even take just something that's not a big deal, but there's a disagreement there's a little conflict, and just I challenge you to try this, because when we take a step towards something that we've been afraid of, the Holy Spirit is right there ready to rush in. And all of these things that we've mentioned today, we just challenge you to try something different, to be able to even think of these things, like write them out as you're listening to this and think, oh, you know what, I'm going to be aware of that. Something that small, the Lord is all over. He wants to make a difference. He wants to bring these changes into your relationships.
Yep. That's a good word, Orlin. So that's what we have for you today. Next time, actually, we're going to talk to you about the next step. See, right now we're preparing for the painting, and we're gonna invest quite a bit of money in getting our house fixed up and painted and looking nice. And we'll share more about this next time. But God actually spoke to us about and showed us very clearly that He wants us to keep our house nice because it's a symbol of our marriage, our family, and that's the foundation of our ministry, is family and relationship. And so we'll share more with you next time on investing into your relationships to make them not only prevent problems, but to build a beautiful relationship. So until then, God bless you, and keep giving into your relationships. Don't give up, and let God do His will and His work in them.
Amen.
Okay. Take care. We love you. Bye-bye.